Hello everyone and welcome to the first look, and today we will look at the Thin Buds one. This is provided me by Linsoul. They were kind enough to provide me this sample here to just have a listen and I'll give you my honest opinion on what it sounds like. Now, Thin Buds one, the information online is quite limited. In fact, it's contradicting. Here it writes play music for 5 hours, even though the website writes 6 hours. Now, they didn't write the case, how long will it last, but based on this specification here, the case is kind of like, 8 times the size? 8 times the size, so I assume that the case can charge 40 hours and then the buds themselves are 5 hours. Now, the phone, I don't really care about that, and the wireless is 5.3. I assume is Bluetooth 5.3. A little bit could be better done for the packaging to just explain a little more. Now, I could not find online whether is it a LDAC, aptX, what's not. No idea. I only know that it has a single driver, 13mm, and the price is, I believe, around 30 USD. Very similar to the Moondrop Space Travel. That one is slightly cheaper, and that will be the earphone I'll be comparing with later. So with the first look, I will unbox this, have a listen, followed by talk about how it compares to the Moondrop Space Travel later. Now, I won't go in depth into using the software and stuff. I mean, if it interests me enough, I will install the software. But for my first look, I mainly focus on really how the item look like, how easy is it to link up because it's a Bluetooth, and finally, how does it sound? That's the important part. So without wasting time, let's unbox this item here. And we can take a look at what's inside this box too. Okay. On unboxing, this is the item here. This is the Thin Buds. Oh, this is a matte case. Interesting. Matte case. Pure matte case, in fact. And then let's see what's underneath here. There's a charging cable and some tips of varying sizes. Now, I think the tips they're all standardizing to a single tip. I hope. I haven't actually thought about buying replaceable tips for wireless earphones. Maybe one day. They are very different. I mean, they're a bit more shallow and stuff. But you know what? Let's put this aside and take a look at the earphone himself. Now, this is the Thin Buds one. It writes there, Thin Buds one, capacity 40 milliamps for the earphones and 320 amps for the case. So it charges with 5 volt 320 milliampere, so quite little. I mean, 2 watts of charging. It's very, very small amount of power. And then the Bluetooth is version 5.3, which is better. The case right wireless 5.3 is kind of weird. And then all the various signs here. This is Thin Hifi, and then this is how the earphones look like. When you pull it out, it looks exactly like this. Now, let's look at the earphone itself. This is the earphone. It actually looks pretty nice. I mean, the stem is a little bit short. The shape, I think it'll fit nicely in the ear. I will try later. And then this is the standard, a bit more long type of tip itself. Now, this case is magnetic. You notice it's magnetic case, and then when I drop in, it's also magnetic. So very similar to AirPods Pro. So the important part is how does this sound? I mean, it's a single 13mm driver. I'm interested to hear how it sounds. But before we can even hear how it sounds, let's try to pair it up. Now, I have not read the instruction at all, so let's hope that the pairing is not some rocket science. So here is the case. I open it up. I hope that it can pair. Let's see. Pair new device. Maybe I remove one of the earphones itself. Oh yes, I saw it now. Thin Buds 1. And I pair it. This is the Shuntling M9 Plus. So, overkill of a device for the purpose of trying it out. Okay, so the codec shows SBC. I don't think you can see here. But let me bring it up to the monitor. It sees SBC. So the connection is through SBC itself. Now, if the connection could go higher, I think it will just select whatever it could. So let me try if it's possible to go higher in any way. Let's try aptX. Nope, it doesn't connect to aptX. Let's try aptX HD+. Obviously not. LDAC. Okay, so SBC is its only connectivity here. I mean, this is pretty normal. Many earphones I've tried only accepts SBC as the connection. aptX actually is only for the higher brands. Now, this is very similar to the Moondrop, also SBC, so no surprises here. We will try the sound quality. So with all my first look, I will try a sound quality check, by playing 2 different songs, give you an honest review, and then followed by a comparison. And for this comparison, it will be the Moondrop because that's the closest price item and it's also true wireless. Without wasting time, let's take a listen. Now, these earphones I feel are very sub-bass oriented, bass and sub-bass oriented. So there's a lot of bass and sub-bass, but I did notice like the mids are not very clear, the highs are also not very good. It's okay, I guess, for its price. Now, this is the first song, and my impression straight away tells me that, you know what, this is a bass and sub-bass heavy IEM wireless, and the clarity really isn't very, very good. I don't know. I mean, it feels like the first few generation of AirPods kind of quality. So that is how I'm currently rating this. But though that is backlight replica, I did notice that the highs are very rounded, the mids are a little bit behind, a bit far away, and they are not like very, very clear and not very precise, if you ask me. So let's try another song and let's see how it feels like. So for the next song, I will try something a little bit more, I mean, I hear a lot often, I Know Akuruhi. So with the second song, I Know Akuruhi, yes, this is a very, very bass heavy IEM with quite a little bit of the bass bleeding into the mids. So the mids is actually really nice and warm and very smooth for this song. Now for Just Now Backlight, it was a little bit like overpowering and covering the clarity part of the mids. But for this, it's actually pretty okay. It's smooth, it makes her vocals have a little bit more body and mid. But you know, you can tell that the bass is really, really strong and it bleeds into the mids itself. Now, is that the sound signature you want? I will not, comment too much. I mean, some people do really like this kind of bass signature. Now, this is very, very similar to something I recently reviewed, this Scarlet Mini. This is the bass that is very similar to the Scarlet Mini. It's just that the Scarlet Mini has a lot more control in the mids and a lot less bleeding into it, while this one has that bleed into it, and also it kind of blunts the highs themselves. So the highs are very, I would say, as muted, and the mids are very warm and bodied, but lose some clarity, while the lows are very, 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 very strong. I mean, this is really an IEM for bass lovers. That's really how I feel about this. Now, this is definitely something that I probably won't prefer. I prefer a little more clarity in the mids. I mean, the Scarlet Mini may have a lot of bass, but I do like the mids because it's very clear and the highs are very strong. It's not blunted or anything. It's like really, really precise and apparent. While this one, for some reason, it feels like an L-shaped kind of sound, like, high bass and then it flattens out. So it's kind of weird to me. Now, this is, of course, when I listen in isolation. Let's try comparing it with another wireless, and that is the Moondrop Space Travel. Now, this is also very bass-oriented from what I remember, but it's been some time since I tried. I do remember that it has quite a good clarity, so my initial guess is that this will be less bass than the Tin Buds, but it has a lot more clarity in the mids and highs. But without wasting time, let's try it out. So for this one, I will do Ibarra. Now, Ibarra has quite a bit of sibilance. I believe that this will have no sibilance because it is quite rounded all the way to the top. Let's hear. Okay, so I've done an initial comparison with the Tin Buds one and the Moondrop, and I have to say the truth that when I was listening to both of them, I think the Tin Buds are better. They are just more enjoyable. Now, the treble, definitely the Tin Buds kind of like chop it away. Unless you on really, really, really loud, then the treble comes back. That's interesting characteristics. When you on loud enough, the treble becomes apparent again. I mean, it's like the flattening of the ear, and then your ear becomes more sensitive to the highs and the lows, kind of stuff, But at low volume, there is like almost no treble. I mean, the treble just like disappears. So it means that everything just feels a bit rounded and not so precise, and cymbals just is very soft, very, very soft. Now, the Space Travel does do it better. There is more highs, but when you actually hear side by side, it feels very thin. It feels like, not only is there a bass loss, but it feels very thin. The whole mids just feel like it lack meat. It feels very weird. It feels like you suddenly hear a tin can when you hear the Space Travel. So I would say as the Tin Buds is definitely very bassy, and the bass goes into the mids, and the mids become very warm, body filled, whatever. And the highs just kind of disappears. But there is still some music with cymbals and stuff, you still can hear them. It's just not apparent. But when it comes to general enjoyment of music at this price range, and between both of them, I will probably take the Tin Buds because it's just more enjoyable. The body, the sound is more filled. I mean, I can forego a little bit of the treble if the general sound signature in the mids and the lows are good, and that is what the Tin Buds deliver. The space travel just don't deliver the same amount of mids and lows that is more important, at least for general listening. And there is highs, but it makes the whole thing sounds very thin and fragile sounding. That's how I put it. So surprisingly, I will prefer the Tin Buds over the space travel for general listening. So, even though it costs a bit more, like 5 or 10 USD more, I believe, it does provide a better sound quality in this very limited price range and this very limited, I guess connectivity, SBC and stuff. Now, I do have one wireless earphone that is a step higher. In fact, I was thinking whether to compare it or not, but since that we tried it out, so might as well just compare. Okay, this is the Soundpeats Air 4. This I have did an initial impression before. You can go and take a look. It does sound pretty good when I tried it, but I want to compare it side by side with this. Now I will need to pair it and then we will take a listen. This costs a lot more. I think this costs 50% more, 70 over Sing dollars, about 40 or 50 USD, so it's about 50% more. But let's see if this sounds better or the Tin Buds is like a great value. Okay, so I compared with the Soundpeats Air 4 Pro and the Tin Buds. Well, it is one heck of a bassy wireless monitor. One heck of a bassy. It is very, very bassy, way more bassy than Soundpeats, but the Soundpeats just feel right. This feels like the right earphone for normal usage. This feels like, oh yes, let's go bass 100%, just like the Scarlet Mini. And then the highs just fall off. So there was a part with the small little guitars and stuff and cymbals, and it just disappears on the Soundpeats. No, there's a part with the guitar and stuff and cymbals, and it just disappears on the Tin Buds, and the Soundpeats do bring them back. But the bass on the Tin Buds is very satisfying. I mean, this is truly an in-ear for bass heads. It is the Scarlet Mini for wireless at a very budget price. Yes, you don't get the full sound quality of a Scarlet Mini. But, how do I put it? I guess it works out if you are into bass. You know what? This got me really interested. I mean, let's try to compare with the Scarlet Mini. And the Scarlet Mini will be in wireless form too. One moment. Now, this is a Scarlet Mini in wireless form. Now, this runs through the Hifi Go port. The whole price of this can buy, let's see, 40 Tin Buds one. But this is the most bassiest IEM I have in wireless form because I can have an adapter. And the Tin Buds is just overly bassy. I just want to see whether will it make a difference. And then for this comparison, I want to make it fair. So I will drop both of them to SBC because obviously Tin Buds cannot go anything beyond SBC, and the Hifi Go can go into LDAC, LH something. So, just be fair, I will drop both of them to, SBC, and then we'll compare it, because SBC do cut the higher frequencies away. I just want to see what's the difference between them. I mean, it's a bit unfair, but let's go. So I have tried out just to tell you guys a very surprising thing. The Tin Buds one can hold its bass against the Scarlet Mini. It is really bassy. The only difference is that the Scarlet Mini is a bit more controlled, the impact is a bit better. The Tin Buds just kind of feel a bit more bloated, a lot of subs, but not much impact. That kind of bass. And of course, let's ignore the other parts. Everything else, the Scarlet Mini will beat it. Clarity, mids, highs. To be fair, it costs 40 times the price, this combination. But the Tin Buds do hold itself in the bass and even the body in the mids. So if you are listening something that is very vocal and bass-centric, I think the Tin Buds will work out really well. Anything else, please, there is alternative. Maybe you can try out first before you commit to this really weird in-ears. But the bass can really hold up against the Scarlet. Normally, if I was to hear the Scarlet Mini and hear anything else, that particular earphone will sound like it lacks bass. Well, this guy, when I cross compare, it sounds like, oh yes, both of them have bass. It's a testimony on how much bass the tin buds have. Bassy, 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 bassy. But the bass leaks in the mid, so you lose a bit of clarity there and stuff. So that is it, man. A very interesting comparison. It made me take out something that is so much more expensive to compare, but it does show the potential of the tin buds. I mean, you don't really get this much bass that is somewhat still usable. Oh wait, give me a moment. You don't really get this much bass that is somewhat still usable in a wireless form. I mean, yes, the clarity is a bit off. The highs are just kind of blown away by the lows most of the time. But if you are a bass head and you just want some sick bass but don't pay too much money like the Scarlet Mini with this wireless setup, this is a really good alternative. I mean, really, really good alternative. I don't know much more to say. I don't know how much more to praise or say that this is a weird thing. Bass, come here. Not bass, I think Soundpeats or something else would be a little bit more balanced and better. This is a bit too extreme of a bass IEM wireless versions. And that's about it. This is the first look of the Tin Buds 1. Very, very interesting. Now, there is some touch function to it, but it's unpredictable. I mean, I do know that you're supposed to press aside, it controls the volume, and then press some pattern to just hold. I didn't read the menu. Mainly because my focus is really on the sound quality. There is ways to control the device to a certain extent. Now, the only weakness of this really is the codecs is limited to SBC, which already reduces the highs a lot. I mean, SBC kind of kills a lot of the highs. So this is an IEM that doesn't have much highs to start with, and then it kills more highs with the SBC. I do not know whether Tin Buds have a more advanced version where they got a bit more highs. If there's a bit more highs, well, it's a competitor to the Scarlet Mini with the i5 Gold port. I mean, if it's 3 times the price but with a better codecs and has better highs, it can truly fight this. I mean, this guy will still beat it, but I mean, for 1/10 the price for a little bit more guilty pleasure, it's possible. But as it is now, this price at $30 USD is an interesting proposition for people who love bass, and mids that have bass, and mids that are warm, and mids that are not too clear, and highs that kind of there but not exactly there, but you want bass. I just cannot emphasize how much bass does this guy have. Ridiculous amount. And that's why I hope you enjoy my short little first look of the Tin Buds 1. Very interesting piece of equipment, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.